Once upon a time in the landlocked country of Belarus, there lived a man named Alexander Lukashenko. He was born in the small village of Kopis in 1954, a time when his country was part of the Soviet Union. Raised by a single mother, he grew up in a humble family and was no stranger to hardship. As a young man, Lukashenko showed promise and ambition. He pursued a career in the Soviet military, eventually rising to the rank of colonel. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Belarus became an independent nation, and Lukashenko found his true calling in the world of politics. In 1994, he was elected as the first president of Belarus, promising stability and prosperity to a nation reeling from the shock of newfound independence. However, as the years went by, the once promising leader transformed into a dictator. Over time, he consolidated power, removing any opposition that could challenge his authority. Human rights abuses became rampant, and Belarus turned into a repressive state. People who dared to speak out against him were silenced, and the freedoms they once enjoyed were no more. The tale of Lukashenko's iron grip reached its climax in August 2020 during the Belarusian presidential election. Accusations of voter fraud and ballot stuffing marred the election, with claims that Lukashenko's victory, securing his sixth term in office, was a sham. The people of Belarus, tired of living under his rule, took to the streets in protest, demanding change and justice. But Lukashenko would not relinquish his hold on power so easily. The peaceful protests were met with brutal force, as security forces unleashed a wave of violence and repression upon the demonstrators. Thousands were arrested, many were beaten, and some even lost their lives. In the midst of this turmoil, a woman named Svetlana Tikhanovskaya emerged as the face of opposition against Lukashenko's regime. She had never planned on entering politics, but the arrest of her husband, a presidential candidate, forced her to take up the mantle. Despite the danger and fear, Svetlana bravely stood up to Lukashenko, calling for an end to his oppressive rule. As the world looked on in horror, the international community condemned Lukashenko's actions. Sanctions were imposed, and countries around the world offered their support to the people of Belarus. But Lukashenko, backed by his powerful ally Russia, refused to yield, clinging to power like a desperate man clinging to a sinking ship. The story of Alexander Lukashenko is a somber tale of a man who once held the hopes of a nation, but instead brought it to its knees. His actions have left a deep and lasting impact on the lives of the Belarusian people, who continue to struggle for their freedom and dignity. This is a tale that must not be forgotten, as it serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked power and the resilience of the human spirit. Let us remember the people of Belarus and their ongoing fight for justice, and hope that one day, their dreams of a better future will be realized.